On the night of March 8th, 2014, the world witnessed the beginning of one of the greatest aviation mysteries of all time. It began as an ordinary flight. Malaysia Airlines Flight 370, a Boeing 777, prepared for takeoff from Kuala Lumpur International Airport. The destination was Beijing, China, a journey that should have taken just under 6 hours. On board were 239 people, men, women, and children representing more than a dozen countries. For the passengers, it was just another flight, business trips, family reunions, vacations. No one could have imagined that in a matter of hours, their plane would vanish without a trace. The captain of the aircraft was Zahari Ahmad Shah, a seasoned pilot with decades of experience, respected in his field and admired by his peers. Beside him was First Officer Farrokh Abdul Hamid, just 27 years old, eager and enthusiastic, nearing the end of his training. The two men exchanged routine calls with air traffic control as the plane climbed steadily into the night sky. Passengers settled into their seats, some drifting to sleep, others watching movies or reading books. It was calm, ordinary. Nothing suggested what was about to happen. At exactly 1:19 a.m., as the flight prepared to leave Malaysian airspace, a voice came through the radio. It was believed to be the co-pilot. He said the words, "Good night, Malaysian 370. It was calm, polite, normal, but those words would later become haunting because they were the last ever heard from a plane. Just minutes later, MH370's transponder stopped transmitting. The system that tells controllers the plane's altitude, speed, and position went dark. Within moments, civilian radar had lost track of the aircraft. But what no one realized at the time was that the plane did not simply vanish. It had turned. Military radar later showed that the aircraft had veered off its planned path, making a sharp left turn across the Malaysian peninsula, flying west instead of north toward Beijing. What followed was a nightmare of confusion. Air traffic controllers in Vietnam expected the plane to check in when it entered their airspace, but MH370 never did. Hours passed before authorities realized the plane was missing, and by then it was too late. When word spread, panic set in. Families crowded airports, desperate for news of their loved ones. Governments scrambled jets and ships. Countries around the region joined together in what would become one of the largest search operations in history. In the early days, there was still hope that maybe the plane had diverted to another airport, that maybe there had been a communication failure. But as hours turned to days, that hope began to fade. Investigators soon revealed something shocking. Using satellite data, they discovered that the plane had continued flying for hours after it vanished from radar. Instead of heading north toward Beijing, MH370 had flown deep into the Indian Ocean, far from land, until its fuel ran out. This revelation changed everything. The disappearance was not caused by a sudden explosion or mechanical failure. Someone or something had deliberately diverted the plane. The search began in the waters west of Australia, covering hundreds of thousands of square kilometers. Ships dragged sonar equipment across the ocean floor. Planes scanned from above. Submarines dove deep beneath the surface. But despite years of searching, nothing was found. In 2015, a breakthrough seemed to come. A piece of wreckage washed ashore on Reunion Island, off the coast of Africa. It was confirmed to be from MH370. Over the next few years, more fragments turned up, pieces of the wing, interior panels, even a flaperon. But the main wreckage of the plane was never located. Without the black box recorders, investigators were left with more questions than answers. And with no answers came theories. Some believe the plane suffered a catastrophic mechanical failure, though this seemed unlikely given how long it continued flying. Others suspected terrorism, but no group ever claimed responsibility. One of the most controversial theories pointed to the captain, Zahari Ahmad Shah, suggesting he may have deliberately taken the plane off course in a planned act. Supporters of this theory pointed to his flight simulator home, where investigators found routes similar to MH370's final path. But without hard evidence, the theory remains unproven. Another theory suggested a hijacking. Could passengers or crew have forced the plane to change course? If so, why did they not make demands? And why did the plane vanish into one of the most remote parts of the world? Others believe governments knew more than they admitted, speculating about military radar data that was never released, or a cover-up involving sensitive cargo on board. For the families, these theories were not enough. They wanted closure. They wanted to know what happened to their loved ones. But years passed, and the mystery only deepened. To this day, Flight MH370 has never been found. The disappearance left a chilling legacy. In an era where satellites can track smartphones and GPS can pinpoint cars on city streets, how could a massive passenger jet simply vanish without a trace? The Indian Ocean, vast and unforgiving, swallowed its secrets whole. For the families, each day is a reminder of the night their lives were forever changed. They live with unanswered questions, with grief, and with a painful uncertainty that may never end. For the world, the vanishing of Flight 370 remains an unsolved puzzle, a story of loss and mystery that still haunts aviation to this day. What happened in those final hours of MH370's flight? Who was in control of the plane? Why did it fly so far off course? These questions remain unanswered, and perhaps they always will. The only thing we know for certain is this: 239 people boarded a plane one night in March 2014, and not one of them was ever seen again. Please subscribe for more true crime stories.